Hey everybody, welcome to the Art of Film. Today we're here on assignment in Santa Barbara, California, doing a little bonus episode. We're going to talk about the film Joker. Is this Taxi Driver? And the short answer is no, it's not. But the long answer is stay tuned. We're going to talk about Taxi Driver. We're going to talk about the Joker. We're going to talk about this. And it is apropos. I'm wearing my Batman shirt I just am today. So yeah, I've seen this movie, of course, when it first came out. I bought this DVD this week, actually. I was down in LA. I went to Book Off, which is a Japanese used bookstore. And I bought this book. It was $2. So I was like, let's buy this. It's really good. Everyone talked about it being Taxi Driver. And how it's so similar to Taxi Driver, and Todd Phillips, the director, is making a Taxi Driver, superhero stuff. And one of the things I'll say this is a very good movie. It's very well done. It's well written. It's well acted. It's 5 stars all across that. It's not a superhero movie, and that's okay. You can have a movie with superhero characters and put them in another genre, right? I mean, clearly that's what they're doing. And I think that works. That latest Batman movie was a serial killer movie. It really wasn't a superhero movie at all. This is a, 70s grimy, movie. And in that way, it's kind of like Taxi Driver. There's been other movies that I think that are making where they're trying to say, okay, we have this cool property that's, printed in this medium, comic books, and we're going to now put it in a different genre, and it totally works, and I think that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. So there's that. Let's just go ahead and just go through it. I took copious notes because this movie there's a lot to talk about. It starts off with the old Warner Brother logo, which is significant. The plasticity of his face, we're kind of working on his face. He's kind of showing us just a little bit about what that is. It's definitely 1970s, the film, the type of shots, film, the coloring. It does have this kind of New York flavor, although, of course, it's supposed to be Gotham, but it's clearly like 70s New York. And right off the bat, we get the setup that here's a clown with the worst job in the world. He's like one of these, sign twirler guys. And he loses his sign. He gets mugged, sign stolen, worst job in the clown business, we'll say. And we got to say, this is rock bottom. Like, this is where we start the film, is this moment where it's like down and out, pull away from him. He's on the ground, sprawled out. It's like, okay, this is bad. We're starting off at the bottom. Then we go to the next scene. He's laughing, but it's almost a cry. It reveals that he's in this meeting with like a social worker. And then right here, we start thinking like, okay, is he crazy? Like, we're seeing this is tough. This is tough times. And what I like about this, a learning, we'll say, we'll like asterisk by this. The learning is you do not need dialogue to show character. For instance, there's in this scene especially, he's doing some fidgeting with his legs, and he's kind of like doing some movements, and this kind of fidgeting stuff tells character more than dialogue. In fact, he doesn't talk much at all this first bit, but we learn who he is, what his conditions are and his issues through nonverbal physical acting. So think about that when you're writing story and you're kind of working out scenes. They don't need to say it. I know that's what I'm thinking about when I'm working on this little short film. So I'm going to be putting that into it. So the words aren't needed. We also revealed some more information in this scene. He was in a hospital, and we have this quick cut to him banging his head on the door. Therefore, he's insane. Like right off the bat, with this little insert, this little moment, we know he's got mental issues, like no doubt about it. So, down and out, rock bottom, mugged, clown, and has mental problems. Then we see, next scene, he's on the bus. We get this idea that when he laughs, that is like a condition, that he's kind of nervous. He has this little card he gives to people. This is a change in the story from the material. And this again puts it in the real world. So this is saying, okay, this is not really superheroes. This is a psychological thing. This is like in the real world. We are not in the superhero world. So it's that psychiatric kind of like thing that we're going for, the reality. And some of you might be like, I don't want reality. And I totally get that. We won't debate that here, but that's what Phillips is going for. Okay, the walk home, again, all this sets up the situation. When he gets home, he lives with his mom. He's broke, has bad jobs, mentally unstable, but here's the thing. He helps his mom. He's sympathetic. What's fascinating about this movie is he's not a villain at all in this movie. I mean, maybe you could say towards the end, the very end, but he is so sympathetic. All his actions, we understand why he's doing it. We can sympathize with him being in the situation. I mean, come on. You're not going to feel bad for the clown that gets mugged by a bunch of punk kids. I mean, he's put in all these situations. He's very sweet to the little kid on the bus, and the mom bawls him out. We're sympathetic. He lives with his mom, and he takes care of his mom. We're sympathetic. All these bad things are happening to him, and he just takes it. We're sympathetic. Now, do we want that? Do we want that in our character? Well, generally, yeah. You want your protagonist to be sympathetic. We want to root for him. We want to be like, yeah, go get him. The issue is the Joker is a villain. Historically, maybe not in this story, but he is a villain. He kills people. He does mass murderers and all the other stories we've seen him. He's a bad dude. And they're making him so sympathetic, so much like our guy that we want to succeed. There is a little bit of troublingness, because now let's go to Taxi Driver. We don't really necessarily want Travis Bickle to win. We don't want Travis to do what he does. Although at the end, when he goes into the whorehouse and kind of like kills a bunch of people, we think that's good because he's like the white knight saving Jodie Foster's character. But Travis is someone to pity and kind of fear, and he loses control in his mental state. Joker, I think the problem is that Joker, we have a history with Joker, so we know that he's a villain, right? Where Travis, that's like a property you didn't know. There's not all these like generations of stories of him. So that's the issue, is we bring some baggage to the Joker when we come to this movie. So that's something to like think about. Then we have this Johnny Carson surrogate character, Murray, who's played by Bobby De Niro, who played who played Travis in Taxi Driver. Here we have this like dream, wish, fantasy element. And he's also this father figure. Murray, he watches the freaking Tonight Show with his mom for decades. He's this father figure of comedy. So that's something to think about as far as their, I don't know if it's a relationship you would say, but the position that Murray has in not Travis, in Arthur's life. We cut to the clown work. So here we see he gets this gun from a colleague who has a very different philosophy about life and about the situations that they're in. Again, Arthur's good, we'll say. We like him. He's not wanting to hurt people. He's got a good heart. He's got some issues. He's had some problems, but he's a good person. Right? His colleagues might not be. This guy who gives him the gun that's kind of a troublemaker, right? The boss now brings him lower. So we already had kind of a rock bottom, but we're going to see it goes lower and lower and lower. And you're like, where is the bottom? Because you start the movie off with the mugging. You think that's the bottom. Then he goes and you see him living with his mom. Okay, that's maybe now we're seeing the full story of the situation. But it gets even worse now when the boss says, you know what, you owe money for that sign. You owe that. And then that's even brings him lower. So now he has this big debt about it. And we start seeing this danger of being pushed too far. He's getting pushed. Then we move into the elevator with the neighbor. The neighbor, played by the girl who's also in Atlanta. I can't remember her name right now, so apologies to that actress, but she does a fine job. We start having this fantasy element with her into the story. We see him bathing his mother. So their relationship has this kind of a inappropriate oddness to it. We also see that is kind of sweet. I mean, that being a caretaker of your mother, we sympathize for him, and we start sprinkling this idea of this psychosis or psychiatric issue that his mom has, and with Wayne. And Thomas Wayne is an element to their family history. Now we go to the scene that is kind of a Travis Bickle scene where he's kind of playing with the gun a little bit. Remember when Travis is in front of the mirror and he's like, "Are you talking to me? Oh, I don't see nobody else. You must be talking to me." That kind of thing. Joker's kind of doing that, but he's kind of dancing. He's kind of playing. It's played a little bit differently, but it's that kind of flirting with the potential of doing damage to people or doing violence, and that's kind of an element. So I can see that as a similarity to Taxi Driver. Then we go back to now we go into stalking the neighbor. And this is a little weird because we see him stalking, following the neighbor to the little daughter's school, her work, and just out of nowhere, he's just like, "What is this about?" And I wonder, is this kind of an impulsive thing? Is this something that he's been fantasizing about and wanting to do? And her whole storyline, that whole bit is very, very confusing at times because I don't even know if that's real. Was that real, or was that part of the fantasy that we find out later that he's kind of put in his mind? We have the first of a couple of comedy club scenes where he's studying. We see him kind of start to build his act, working on jokes. Of course, it's bad and it's chaotic and twisted, but we start kind of seeing that. Now the neighbor comes, confronts Arthur, says, "Hey, were you following me?" And then now we're wondering okay, what is this building into? Is this building into a romance, or was this just in his mind? We don't know at this point. Now, we've all seen the movie a couple times, so now we know it was fake. But at the time of the movie, you're like, really? We're going to put this kind of romantic element to him? He's going to be that sympathetic? So that was a bridge too far. No, Arthur's not going to have a freaking romantic interest. He's not that damn sympathetic in reality. But we still are rooting for him. That's just the way the film is setting this all up. Now we go into a worse situation. He's working at a children's hospital as a clown, doing what he loves. The gun that his colleague gave him falls out of his damn pants. That's an issue. Loses his job. Now, that is the bottom. Rock bottom. He lost his job. He's not even employable now. Okay? Rock bottom. Worse. Now, at this moment, this is kind of like the turn. This is one of those little like pivots in the film. At this moment, when he's at, we're going to say the third rock bottom, not to be confused by the wrestling move made by Dwayne Johnson. We have the train attack. This is where, again, sympathetically, he's not attacking people we love. He's attacking these three assholes that are accosting this woman, potentially gonna, do some damage to her. And Joker kind of saves her in a way. He kills them, these attackers, because they attack him. The first two kills is self-defense. The third is not self-defense. Now we're getting kind of in the aggression zone. But it's still sympathetic. It's still self-defense. It's still, hey man, they got what they're coming to. They got what was coming to them. And this is kind of like, again, showing that, hey, he's sympathetic. And then he feels something in this moment. He feels some power. He feels something. It's not a rebirth. It's not a switch yet. But he's feeling something here. And then we see in his mind, he goes to the neighbor, makes out with her. We find that that's not real. But in his mind, he does that. So he's kind of like starting to live in that world a bit. Now the story continues with him kind of building this, understanding his role, understanding who he is. We get an update from the social worker. Social programs are done. No more social programs, no more medicine. He's asked out. Now, this is where really like the government and the society kind of like destroys him, because you have a guy here who clearly needs help. And now he can't even get medicine. When you know someone is psychotic or have these kind of mental issues, that they don't have access, it's late as hell, it's like midnight, and you don't have access to medicine, I mean, again, rapid acceleration to destruction to bad things. He's becoming more and more like the villain of the Joker. Okay. He does this performance at the comedy club again. Is this a fantasy? They put all these questions in the film, like, is this real? Did this really happen? Did the neighbor go on a date with him? Did he get this confidence, or is this kind of a fantasy? We don't know yet. We're trying to like figure out what is real and what is not. Again, unreliable narrator, right? Whereas in Taxi Driver, we see the real world too. I'm trying to think if there is that unreliable narrator element to Taxi Driver. And off the top of my head, I would say no. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. I don't think we do see that. I think we kind of see what's what. But I would say Travis is not as crazy as Joker. Therefore, when you're having a main protagonist who is criminally insane, you do have to kind of like put these question marks as to what we're seeing on the screen. Is it real or not? I think that kind of like works. Then we have some plot. We're getting some plot now with Wayne. The Thomas Wayne is his father or not? There's this, does he confront this? There's this question. He goes to the estate, trying to figure out, is mom insane? We don't know. We're also getting this issue of followers after the murder of these three like young business guys or Wall Street guys. Now there are these protesters who are wearing the clown and are kind of like invoking this imagery to say, hey man, Occupy Wall Street or whatever you want to call it. And so that's kind of rising in the background. Arthur is not really involved in that at all, but it's simmering. Then we have a revelation that Arthur is potentially adopted. And now Murray wants him. Murray, his kind of surrogate father, not Thomas Wayne. Murray wants him. And Murray wants him on the show to mock him, of course, but he still wants him on the show. And this is a freaking dream come true. Now we have this self-discovery journey because he's trying to figure out, okay, is my mom crazy? Thomas Wayne said that she was, that I was adopted, abused, and so he goes to Arkham Asylum, gets the records, tries to find out who he is, right? This is part of his metamorphosis. What is he? Verifies he's adopted. Again, very sympathetic. Now this is another rock. Again, this is the next low because when he finds out he's adopted and that his mother abused him or let him be abused, that's just like even the worst, right? Because now it's your identity is now being questioned. Not just your circumstance, but who you are as a person has now been shattered. So now he is like, that's it. I think this is really Act 3 right here when we start this, because now what I have here, all is revealed. Yeah. So yeah, this is the rock bottom as we find out that all that with the girlfriend is fantasy. It's all made up, and then we have this Travis element of converting himself into a new thing. When he kills his mother, I think that's the crossing point that is either fixing mistakes in the past or starting over, erasing the past. And now he plans this kind of, suicide on the show, this kind of preparation for this performance he's going to do, which will be his death. That's how he's going to end it. We have this very extreme violent scene with his former co-worker he kills very graphically. But then it's not really justified. And we end that with him going to Murray's in this very cool, slow motion, cool music. He's looking dapper. He's going to the elevator. And then again, it's like we're rooting for this villain. We're saying not only is he sympathetic, not only pity him, but we're wanting him to go. And that is kind of troubling. In Taxi Driver, we never really rooted for Travis, I don't think. In my mind. I'd have to watch it again. It's been a while. But I would say we don't root for him. He's definitely not cool. They don't put the cool music and the slow motion. None of that business with Travis. But there is this transformation I was saying about them both. Travis with the mohawk, changing his look, kind of becoming this new thing. Same with Joker. Joker dyeing his hair, putting on the makeup. He's kind of transforming this metamorphosis, physical, to represent his like new persona, or who he is, this anti-hero. And he's really an anti-hero, I guess we would call it. I mean, he's a damn villain, no doubt, but the movie's making him kind of an anti-hero, I guess is the right term. Then we have The Murray Show. The Murray Show basically is a rebirth. This moment when he comes on stage is his moment of coming out of the womb, coming out of the chrysalis, or whatever it's called, as a butterfly. He does not perform the entrance as he had been planning. It is completely new, original, very flamboyant. He is this new persona. He has taken it upon him. He performs beautifully. And then he tells the jokes. He's not nervous. He does everything, and he shoots freaking Murray dead to rights. And this is it. This is him doing his thing. At the same time, the freaking Wayne's coming out of Zorro, but Zorro the Gay Blade from I think that movie's actually in the 80s, but whatever. So the birth of Joker, the same night as the birth of Batman. Riots, they kind of like champion Joker, and then it ends with him in the insane asylum. Looks like he kills the social worker, and he's running around. And that's it. It just kind of ends there. And I think that's fine. The ending is great. I have no problem with the ending of him being in the insane asylum. He gets captured, of course. The crowd loves him. He's there not as Arthur, as Joker. We haven't seen Arthur yet. I mean, we don't know if he ever shows up again, if it's just Joker from now on. They are making another movie. It does not need to be made. This movie stands alone perfectly as is. But movie making is a business, and this company needs to make more movies every year to be profitable, to keep everyone's jobs. So I understand them wanting to do a second one. I don't know the motivation of Joaquin Phoenix to do a second one, because this must be extremely taxing, physically, emotionally, and everything. So the fact that he wants to do this again for another 6 months or 4 months or whatever it is, not so. I don't know him. But yeah, it's got to be a lot. I'm assuming same director and writer. I don't know. It'll be good, probably. I'll see it. But it'll be hard to beat this one, because I don't know what you tell. The Joker in this is so sympathetic. He is the downtrodden. He is the person that we're wanting to, to get rid of the system and the fat cats and all that stuff. That's who he is. So this next one has to be a little different. I don't know. I mean, are they going to kind of pick a film and kind of tailor it to that? I don't know. I will say that the Joker is not Taxi Driver, but we can see some similarities in style, in the fact that you even have like Bobby in there. Both is kind of interesting. In the change in character, kind of a outcast character who's not quite all there mentally, who's just on the fringe of society, who sees the world, sees the corruption, sees the filth of the world, is disappointed in it, and decides to make a difference in those ways, and does a physical transformation and some heinous acts at the end to protect people. He protects people. Joker wasn't protecting anybody. He was just pissed and kills. So it kind of stops there. But so you can see some similarities in Travis and Arthur, but and so it's warranted, but it's not Taxi Driver. But maybe it's pretty damn close in those ways, in some of those themes. So there you go. That's my review. A bit long, but it's a pretty damn good movie. And thanks for watching. and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye, guys.